Oops. Hello and welcome to Saving Podcast Ryan, aka Houston. We have a podcast, aka whose podcast is it anyway? That's a TV show. It doesn't matter, even though we're talking about movies. As always, I am your co-host, Paulo. I'm joined by my regular host, Carson, who does not want to do the intro today.
Hooray!
And today we have our two experts on randomness, because guess what? Today is a random episode because we didn't want a theme. We didn't want to be limited or held down by the man. So our first guest is Manan.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, anytime. Introduce yourself, please, with your movie and your character.
Well, my name's Manan. I will tell you that my movie character that I most define myself with is Jonah Hill from Moneyball. He is a massive nerd, but he loves numbers and only wishes he could play sports. Totally relate. I'm into sports, into numbers. And a movie that I relate to, not to be super cliche about it, but is Harold and Kumar. But from the point of view of Harold, also likes to have a good time, but is,
By the
also
end of the
nerdy.
movie.
By the end of the movie,
Yeah,
exactly.
he doesn't
And
like to have a good time at
I
first.
don't, and I like burgers. And yeah, that's
Very
pretty
nice.
much it. Yeah.
All
I
right.
like myself a good burger.
Our next specialist of the random episode, David. Introduce yourself, sir.
So my name is David Knox. I have two names. The last name is Knox. It's a great name.
I mean, if you want it out on the internet, sure.
That's fine. I'm sure they can find me any way they want anyway.
All 10 of them.
The two movies I chose, or the movie and the character I chose. The first I chose was Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist to describe myself. That's mainly because I tend to obsess over my ex-girlfriends every now and then. That's fine. A little too personal for the internet, but that's fine.
Which David Knox again?
I enjoy the candid.
It's a canon.
candid-
Guys,
Okay, no one's
it's like you're in the room with me. It's okay. You can be here with me. Get to know me. Be my friend.
This is all we
Um,
want.
And the character I chose was Hector from Hector and the Pursuit of Happiness. I say that because, I find that life does its in and outs and it gets kind of boring from every now and then. Everyone finds that kind of drab and wants to get along with life and find more out of it. I'm very much like that myself. Also, my quest and my pursuit don't always turn out the way I want, but I tend to learn something from them. And, that pretty much describes me as myself.
All right. Thank you, Hector. So, like I said, it is the random episode today. Did I mention it's the random episode? We have a bunch of, I guess, random things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be starting off with, what?
Just go through the show.
Okay. So, just an overview of our agenda for today. We're going to discuss who should be the next James Bond, out of five special categories. I'm going to jump into my social media update. As always, I know everyone's been waiting this entire month for the next one. And then we're going to have Manon's audio clip, followed by the piece de resistance of our episode tonight. Build your own bank heist crew. So this, I'll get into it later. We'll also have David's audio clip, and I will keep in mind when we have those audio clips that we always have the questions that if you answer correctly, you could be a guest on this podcast. It's like the opportunity of a lifetime. So you know what? Listen up, answer, tweet us, Instagram, slide in our DMs. And then finally, we're going to end it off with the movie pitches, slightly different this time. It's a bit of a surprise. It's something I've been working on for many, many years. It's an idea that I've had since I was a young lad. Can the mics hear my dog?
Yes.
Okay. But to start it off, I'm gonna kick it to my host Carson for the first segment of James Bond.
Okay, so typically on this show, we have a lot of competitions. We have a lot of episodes where we have a judge, we have three people trying to compete for each other. And I think what we wanted to do first on this episode is we just wanted to have we're calling this segment the free-for-all, where we have a topic and we're just going to open it up for discussion. And we're going to see where that goes. Maybe we'll agree with each other. We can take sides if we want. We can disagree with each other if we want. We won't know because we actually don't know what each other has picked for each of these categories. But the topic here is who should be the next Bond? And we have excluded white males from this for most of the segments that we're talking about. But we're going to talk about who should be the best Bond, who should be the next Bond if it's going to be someone who's black, if it's someone who is female, if it's somebody who is Indian, someone who, if they were to cast an active athlete, and then also just who would be the worst Bond ever. So to start it off with our first category, and I think this is one where a lot of people may or may not pick the same person, but if you were to pick the next Bond, and if this person had to be black, who would you pick? How about David? How would you start us off?
So I picked 2 people for this category.
You can only pick one!
Well, I chose 2.
So we're gonna cut you off of the first one.
Okay, fine. So I think the most obvious choice here, as everyone's kind of been discussing, is Idris Elba. So, I picked him, but I also had a side one to pick as well because, I think that one was kind of easy.
All right, hit us.
I chose Jaman Husu.
The Blood Diamond.
The Blood Diamond guy, yeah.
Is he British?
I actually don't know if he's British.
He's extremely not
I don't think
British.
he's British.
So is this like, well, I don't know if James Bond has to be British, but let's not get into that. I feel that's going to be the biggest debate.
Okay, how about yourself?
I also picked Idris Elba. I know it's pretty basic pick, but I think in terms of suave and kind of the thing that James Bond is about, I think he does represent that, and that seems to be the most obvious pick, and that's for a reason.
Okay, I'm going against the grain here. Idris Elba is 45 years old. Usually you want your Bond to be playing it for about 15 years old, so that means, is he going to be playing Bond when he's 60? James Bond in the books is 37 years old, actually. I chose David Oyelowo, who played Martin Luther King from Selma.
Oh,
yeah.
I think he's got that class down. I think what you want in a good Bond is somebody who can play the spy, who can be in disguise, who can... I want my Bond to be more spy than action hero, and I think David Oyelowo, he's 41, so he's on the older side, but I think he has a bit of youth to play the role. Paulo, how much yourself?
All right. I tried really, really hard not to pick Idris Elba because, let's face it, he's the natural choice. But in the interest of being different, I'm gonna butcher his name, Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yes.
I don't know if that's how you say his name, but
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
huh?
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Jesus. All right, that's who I picked.
Oh.
He's in 999.
Kinky Boots.
He's in Kinky Boots.
Great
He has
movie.
extreme range.
Yeah, he does.
He was also in Doctor Strange. He is he's not like classically handsome as you would think a James Bond to be.
He's a bit more rugged.
A little bit, yes. But they did that with Daniel Craig, and I think it worked. He was not my favorite Bond, but I think
So, something that might put the rest of this conversation in context, what do we all think about Daniel Craig as Bond?
Personally, I don't think he's a very good James Bond. And I only say that not because he's not British, first of all, but I personally think that he plays a kind of a weak James Bond.
He's British.
He is British? Okay, so I'm wrong about that. You guys can fact check me on this because I have no facts whatsoever. Anyway, I personally feel like he portrays James Bond as kind of a weaker character. I've seen the other James Bonds more composed. Like every time he's being tortured or every time he's going through something, they're more composed, kind of thinking methodically about what he's going to do next. I feel like Daniel Craig doesn't really portray that as James Bond.
I think he's a bit more rugged, and I love Chiwetel Ejiofor as an actor, but I think he's a bit too rugged. I think in James Bond, you need someone who almost epitomizes class.
Correct.
What about John Bodega, the dude that plays
He's 25
Finn?
years old.
Did you say Bodega?
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 Isn't that a
Bodega?
store?
Bodega? Yeah, he's too young? Not true. Maybe he's got time.
He's a little young. I think, but as for Daniel Craig, he was not my favorite. I grew up on Pierce Brosnan, who I think was the perfect balance of serious and silly, which is kind of not okay. I don't want James Bond to be silly, but there's that
There's a little bit of silly.
yeah, there's a little bit of cheesy spy crazy plot and crazy way to get out of it for
Okay,
Bond.
so kick this. We'll move this right or wrong. We don't have a winner there, but I think Idris Elba probably is the most popular pick for that one. So female James Bond, or a Jane Bond, so to say. How about we'll go Manan, how to start?
The female that I think would be a great Jane Bond.
Jane Bond.
Is probably Kate Beckinsale. I think she's again has that kind of charisma and that personality to play a good James Bond.
Is she British?
She is British.
Oh,
I did investigate. Was born in London. So I think.
Yeah, I think that makes her British.
That makes her British, probably. She was great in the Underworld series, and she's pretty composed. So
I thought you were gonna say she's great in her underwear.
probably is. She is very.
Also,
Yeah.
So who I chose was Naomi Harris, who actually plays Moneypenny in the current Bond series.
Is you went with 2 black Bonds?
I went with 2 black Bonds. Naomi, she's 41. I think she pulls off class really well. She pulls off like spy. I think she looked really good in like a really classy dress. And I also, putting Naomi Harris means I'm keeping the exact same Bond universe. I'm keeping Christoph Waltz as Blofeld. I'm keeping Ralph Fiennes as M. I'm keeping the whole universe, but it's Moneypenny becomes Bond with Naomi Harris.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah.
My female James Bond. You know what? I broke the rules on this one. I said Gal Gadot.
Very
because
British.
You know what? My only reason, she should be in everything.
It's like the least British accent ever.
Yeah, but I will say this: her in as Wonder Woman in like the Batman versus Superman movie, like how like confident and like just what's the word? Composed, suave-ish. Yeah,
That's a good pick.
I think she was a good embodiment of a female James Bond if she was British.
Yeah,
Whatever, she should be in everything.
I think I went way off with you guys. I'm picking a British actress for Jane Bond. I went with Helena Bonham Carter.
Oh my! Is that,
as Jane Bond because I want my
old is
female
she?
James
She's like
Bond to be
60.
crazy.
A
Isn't she
completely
in,
insane James Bond.
Because Jane Bond or
Oh,
James
sorry,
Bond
Jane.
is actually kind of insane all in itself. I think that character would portray the crazy things that Jane Bond would need to do.
Wasn't she in Harry Potter?
Yep,
Yeah.
Bellatrix.
She was
Bellatrix.
Bellatrix.
She kills Sirius Black.
Correct. So she can kill any super.
Gary Oldman. That's pretty impressive.
Wait, what?
We're moving right along. We're going right to Indian James Bond.
Big range there.
I'll start this off. The actor I chose was a lot younger than I wanted, but I really didn't have a lot of options on this one. I chose Dev Patel. I didn't really know any other.
I'll go next. I actually also picked Dev Patel because I think he's I don't know, better looking than Riz Ahmed, who I think is pretty good.
That was my 2 options.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think Aziz Ansari would fit that bill, but
Oh my God, I'm James Bond!
out of those 3, I think Dev Patel has got some sort of range and can go either way, and he's the best looking of the 3. So good
You
work.
just gotta
dude.
shave that goatee.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I went way off topic again. Sorry, guys. I chose not an Indian James Bond, but a Native American James Bond because Indian can mean many things.
That's extremely racist.
So I chose Adam Beach, which is pretty much the guy who plays every Native American actor in American television.
Adam
Who is
Beach.
that?
He was in. Have you seen Wind Talkers?
No.
Oh God, it's a Nicolas Cage war movie. It's really bad.
Oh, I have seen that.
Yeah, and he's like the Navajo
Anyway, I'll look this up after.
all right,
the
whatever.
issues.
Oh, I picked. I took a little bit of
Yeah,
liberties
you know
with the category of Indian, and I picked Oded Fair. I'm pretty sure he's not Indian. I think he's like Middle Eastern, but he's in the Resident Evil movies. He's in the Mummy movies as like the Medjai, the leader of the
Oh, I know
Medjai.
this.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
a good one,
yeah.
actually.
Yeah, I mean, like he has the suaveness of James Bond, but I think he can also like, oh damn, I think like the tone of the Mummy movies where he's the serious guy, but he's also like, kind of he has his funny moments.
So would he be like
He would-
a
he would-
Medjai James Bond or?
Yeah, sure.
James
No, but I
Bond
mean,
but
like
played
he,
by him.
like my so again, my ideal James Bond is Pierce Brosnan, and I think he would embody that as the quote unquote Indian James Bond.
So this is the only category so far where we have a unanimous winner because we actually only had one actor who's actually
actually
Indian. So
And he's
Dev
British,
Patel,
if that helps.
we've officially agreed on. So the next one was if you had to pick a active athlete who is a professional athlete to play James Bond in a movie, who would you pick? Paulo starts off.
I will start. I went completely not British with this one, and I picked Dwayne Wade as the athlete James Bond. I'm seeing some faces. I don't know if they picked him too, but Dwayne
No.
Wade
No, I didn't.
is consistently. Huh? No? Okay. Well, I mean, like, I'll be honest. I don't have a lot behind this. I think he. I don't want to say that I think he's good looking.
You saw a picture of him in a suit and you're like, James.
No, I think it was some like fashion contest between NBA players that I like heard about a long time ago, and then just from then on. Oh no, he had a commercial where he was like a secret agent. He played a secret agent. That's why.
Is it a T-Mobile commercial? What type of commercial
It might
is
have
this?
been.
I think so.
And he played a secret agent, and he was like, I could see this. Like not really, but sure.
All right, David, who do you pick?
Okay, so I actually picked Prince Harry. He is a rugby player, so he counts as an athlete.
Ooh.
Right?
Professionally?
He is the
He picked
most
his
British
games.
that British
Shout
can
out.
get.
Is he a professional rugby player or does he play rugby in his off time?
Does it really make a difference? He's the
We
prince.
chose
Kind of.
professional athlete
No, it
as the
doesn't.
criteria.
No, it doesn't. Because I think, yeah, he's the
I'm
prince.
just trying to
He's
disqualify
royalty.
you because that's a really good choice.
It's a really great choice, right? Because he is the
Probably plays
embodiment
polo, let's
of
be honest.
Britishman. He's classy. He's composed, right?
I mean, being Prince is a great cover for James Bond.
It's pretty
Isn't
good.
it? He would make the best James Bond because
He's hiding in
you
plain
know,
sight.
He's royalty.
Manan, how about yourself?
I said Gareth Bale. He plays for Real Madrid. A real British dude.
I thought you said Gareth Dole, who works at Soft Choice.
No. Well, he's British too, actually.
Yeah.
He's on our soccer team. I think that should count.
Gareth is a very British name, I guess.
Yeah. Gareth Bale, though. He's born in Wales, one of the best soccer players in the world, and he's seems very suave and British. So, you know, it's pretty important.
I think the two
British.
themes of James Bond here are suave and British.
Suave. Hashtag. All right.
So I chose Lewis Hamilton,
Oh,
who was a
nice.
F1 driver. He was really the only notable British athlete that I could think of. Yeah, that's about it.
I think we're gonna have to put pictures up of the last two. Maybe everyone.
Gareth Bale
Actually,
is a man
So
bun.
one thing I'll note is that of the 4 categories so far, I've picked 3 people who are black. Because Lewis Hamilton's also black.
did not know that.
Actually, he's like half, I think.
Yeah,
He seems
It's
half.
pretty light.
Looks like David.
Google has told us he is half.
Okay, so to end this segment off, I know a lot of you guys are looking forward to this one. What?
Nothing.
Okay, worst Bond ever. David, who did you choose?
I chose Vernon Troyer.
Vern Troyer.
Vern Troyer, sorry. Vern Troyer. For those of you who don't
I'm
know,
gonna
that's
challenge you on
Mini-Me.
that one. And it's
That's
saying,
Mini-Me.
Oh.
Wait,
other than him
You're
being...
gonna challenge him already?
Yes, other than him being short, why would you choose him?
You know what? I chose him based on, you know, the character he played as Mini-Me, right? Now, I get it. It's a spoof James Bond movie. But at the same time, like, he's kind of clumsy in that movie. He doesn't really speak very well.
Or
You know,
at all.
You can't choose a James Bond who doesn't communicate well because that's, you know, 90% of his game.
You know he can talk.
I'm sure he can, right? But can he talk charmingly? I don't know.
Oh, that's a
I don't
good
think he
point.
can.
I think I went kind of similar there, and I picked Danny DeVito. As
So are we just going in order of height?
Who
Maybe.
also played Vern Troyer in Goldmember, I should point out.
Yeah, I think his character kind of does not suit the ideal James Bond, and I'll leave it at that. Kind of.
All right, you guys seem to go for like the opposite of the typical class and image of James Bond. I went with something a little different. I think the worst James Bond, Bill Cosby.
Oh!
Imagine James Bond having
Well-
to seduce women as Bill Cosby.
With drugs?
Well, he does. He always gets his woman.
So all your picks are black?
No, not the Indian.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of a stipulation.
No, even the Indian.
But he's not British.
Bill Cosby?
Yeah, that makes him even a worse James Bond. He's not even British.
Wow. I'm still hung up on Bill Cosby. I actually forgot who I picked. I picked for my worst James Bond ever, Seth Rogen. Because there is zero suaveness.
Green Lantern though.
He was He was
I know,
terrible.
Not Green Lantern, Green Hornet.
Oh,
Green
yeah,
Hornet.
sorry.
Oh, right.
Green Hornet, yeah. But no, he was like the worst superhero. 1. 2, imagine him coming up to the bar. He's like, I'll have a martini, shaken not stirred. Yep, that's my argument for Seth Rogen as the worst Bond.
Bill Cosby's the worst.
I'll have to give it to Bill Cosby, actually.
That's
I've never heard of James Bond roofing his Bond girl.
All right. We didn't have a chance to wrapping up the segment. Any particularly good choices that you'd like to applaud some of your co-hosts as here? Ones that you didn't think would be good?
I'd really like to actually applaud Bill Cosby because that was actually pretty funny. I thought that was a good pick for a really bad choice of James Bond.
I would like to say that Idris Elba probably would be the best Bond. I was just trying to find a way not to choose Idris Elba because he's the obvious choice, but...
Word. I like really there's really nothing else you could like for a good James Bond. I personally don't see any other direction they could go right now other than Idris Elba. Sure, he's old, but like he's a beast.
Plus, black don't crack. So I mean, your logic doesn't.
If we open this up to other categories, Tom Hiddleston, perfect Bond. I don't think that gets any better than that.
Oh, this is gonna Loki.
Loki, I don't agree with that.
Really?
I don't see Bond as a trickster, you know.
He's suave. He's good looking.
I can see that actually.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
He looks a little fragile to me, you know.
Would you prefer Thor playing James Bond?
No.
I don't want James Bond being like a big muscly guy. I want somebody who's being a spy and investigative most of the time, and then every once in a while punch someone in the face.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Well, I mean, I don't think I have to argue for Idris Elba anymore because like, he can punch someone in the face, but also he has like just listen to his voice. He makes you melt.
Shut down.
I'm getting too creepy about Idris Elba. I'm gonna stop.
Okay, so we'll end it there. We'll hand it over to Paulo for our social media update for the month.
All right, the moment you've all been waiting more. Sorry, that's the beer talking. Our social media update. So lots of a few things to three things to announce. We have tallied up our likes on YouTube. We have hit a new record of 18 likes. Side note, that is for all our episodes combined. But I'd also like to shout out our 1 like from South Korea. Thank you, whoever you are. I hope you stay safe in the war to come. I'd also like to point out, these are all Carson's notes, by the way, off the YouTube page. Our audience is extremely male. So, like, out of maybe, let's say 50 views, let's say 40 of those 50 views are guys, minus the 45 to 54-year-old female range. 45 to 54 female. Yeah. So I'd like to shout out my mom and Carson's mom. Thank you for being avid listeners. I will come home and visit more.
So maybe we should have more female guests on. So remember, if you respond to any of our clips that are coming up, if you answer any of our questions, you could be on. We need some female guests. Answer.
Even if you tweet us anything at all, sure. Hey, you have a great chance.
What is your Twitter handle?
Thank you for asking, Manan.
Yeah.
Our Twitter handle is at HWHA Podcast. That stands for Houston.
What? Say that again? That was kind of fast.
At HWHA Podcast. Stands for Houston, we have a podcast. The #1 Houston, we have a podcast in the world.
I would say that as an avid follower of this particular Twitter handle, I think it was great during TIFF and worth the follow.
Funny you should mention that, Manan, because our Twitter maestro, Carson, had a great time at TIFF. He had a blast. And I would like to shout out the several connections he made at TIFF. #1, Tanner Zipchen. Shout out to you, buddy. If you don't know who Tanner Z is, go to a movie in the theater, watch it, get there early, because he's in the pre-show and he's explaining like tech stuff and random things. And he introduces time play.
And he's from Saskatoon!
Just like Carson. And, I'd also like to shout out Bria Vinate, the star of the Florida Project and the producer of the Florida Project, Chris Burgoch. Like names. I can't do names. Both of whom liked and or retweeted our official Twitter. So big moves there. Anything to add from your experience at Twitter, Carson? At TIFF. Oh my God, more beer.
There was one guy, I saw a movie, Call Me By Your Name. He said, "Let me know how it goes. I never responded to you. I'm sorry. It was okay."
All right. And with that, I'm going to kick it to our first audio clip for Manan. You want to say a little something about this clip?
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe go fuck yourself.
Oh, good one. Oh my God, that's so good.
My people are out there. They're like fucking Indians. You're not gonna see them. You're not gonna hear about them, except through me or Captain Queenan. You will not ever know the identity of undercover people. Unfortunately, this shithole has more fucking leaks than the Iraqi Navy.
Fuck yourself.
I'm tired from fucking your wife.
How's your mother?
Good, she's tired from fucking my father. All right, look. Got a guy who says he hears Costello's moving the processes to China. He set up the whole fucking job in Pop Kennefic. You do not want to miss it if Costello takes a dump.
We'd miss a lot less if you made your informants available to us and, of course, to the Bureau.
Without asking for too many details, do you have anyone in with Costello presently?
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself. My theory on feds is they're like mushrooms. Feed them shit and keep them in the dark. Girls, have a good day.
Thank you for that clip, Manon. As always with social media, we send out a question, and if you can answer it, our favorite, we're going to go for a bit of an opinion piece this time of who is your favorite actor in The Departed. I think there's a lot of different options there. Before I end this segment, I'm going to take this opportunity to hug the mic and to attack Manon. You said earlier on that you were like Harold and Kumar, and you said you like burgers, but you're a vegetarian.
Veggie burgers are a thing.
I just want to call you out on that shit because no one likes veggie burgers. God damn it.
Soy will change your life.
Faye likes veggie burgers.
I also like veggie burgers.
There you are, right there.
Carson lost!
This is not a good start to a fight segment. And we are just transition that over to Paulo. Take it away.
All right. The other fan favorite, fan segment. The fight segment. Oh my God. That break was longer than I thought.
This is the Build Your Squad segment.
This is the yeah, but it's a fight. So you build your squad and then you fight the other squads. So this one is the bank heist. Shout out to Nihal for giving us the inspiration for this segment. It's not the exact. We tweaked it a little bit to fit our guests, but we will be using your exact idea, Mr. Nihal. I know you're listening for the next episode or maybe another episode. But so anyway, sorry. Back to the bank heist. I've had our host, Carson, and our two special guests, Manan and David, pick their ideal bank heist team out of any movie character. It was open to anyone. The only caveat was that they cannot have superpowers or and they were bound to technology of 2017. So we have 4 roles that they had to fill. We have the leader, who draws up the plan. He's the mastermind, and he leads the team because he's the leader. We have the muscle, who roughs up and intimidates the bank manager and goes into the vault, takes the money, packs it up. He's the brawn of the team. We have the crowd control, who is kind of a wild man or a woman. I don't discriminate. They keep the bank under control. All the hostages, all the employees, the security, whoever's in there, they got that shit on lock. And finally, they have the driver, who, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is the most interesting role in this whole bank heist team. The driver drives. They get that team from point A to point B once they leave. Think the transporter, Jason Statham.
That would have been a great driver, by the way.
You?
Yeah,
You,
I'm sorry I
David.
didn't pick him.
Oh,
But he would have been a great pick.
I only mentioned him as an example because no one picked him, surprisingly. Anyways, but curveball, I'm throwing in a wild card into each one of these teams. They might help, they might hurt. They're definitely gonna hurt. They're not gonna help. I'd like to start off with Eeny, Meeny, Miny, David. No, just kidding, Carson.
What?
Hey, you got to be on your toes. It's a bank heist.
Do I have my wild card now or no?
No. Start.
So, the leader of my team, I picked Sam from Ronin, played by Robert De Niro, ex-Special Forces agent who has turned into a mercenary and who is... He's not necessarily robbing banks in the movie Ronin, but he's definitely robbing people, so robbing banks is not that much of a stretch for him. My crowd control is Michael Atwood, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor in 999, ex-CIA agent, who is very professional, very capable of handling any distraction that comes his way and improvising. One thing I'll mention about the first two guys is they were both leaders and getaway drivers in bank heists, so they have a lot of versatility if anyone goes down in their heist. I'm also for the crowd control. None of you guys will be able to refute this, but I'm picking Gigi from The Racer and the Jailbird. This is a movie I saw at TIFF. It's not out in theaters. No one else has seen it yet.
Then is it
Can't refuse it.
To give you a bit of a background on this guy, he's big, muscular guy. He's been a criminal since he was 8 years old, in and out of juvie. He's a career bank heist criminal. I'll give you guys the courtesy of telling you his weaknesses. He has a weakness for the love of his life, his girl, and he's also afraid of dogs. But otherwise, he's a big physical guy.
Chihuahua.
He's very calm under pressure. He's very relaxed. Like, he's very calm-headed. And then the driver of my team, I am picking Driver from Drive, played by Ryan Gosling. He's extreme. The one thing that I'll stress for my team is professionalism. These are people who know what their job is. They get in, out, and on with business. If anything goes wrong, they know how to handle it. I have 2 ex-Special Forces agents and 2 other people who are career criminals who are very professional at what they do.
Oh, and with time to spare. Okay, time for your wild card, Carson. You mentioned that Gigi. I'd like to add just really quickly that there is nothing that can be found on Racer and the Jailbird. Manan and David are furiously Googling. There's nothing to be found on the
I couldn't
internet.
even find Sam from Ronin.
No.
Anyways, your wild card is John Wick. He happened to be in the bank with his dog. Gigi murdered his dog,
Oh my
being
God.
afraid of dogs. John Wick has gone off and killed Sam. What does your team do?
Well, so John Wick is a formidable force, but at the same time, I have 2 ex-Special Forces agents. So presumably Michael Atwood...
Sorry, Sam is already dead.
Sam is dead?
Yeah. Sam from Ronin. John Wick killed him.
What?
Because
Okay.
he killed his dog.
At this point, okay, I still have Michael Atwood, and I think Michael Atwood, at the end of the day, he's going to make sure that the job gets done. So if it means leaving Sam and wait, is Gigi dead?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so if it means getting out of there and that, they have to leave Sam behind, like he's dead, they obviously have to, they're going to act professionally and they're going to leave. The driver, played by Ryan Gosling, like, he's not going to mind. Like, that's less weight in his car. He's going to be able to get away. So he's out the door. He's on. They've got the money. They've lost a
John
crew
Wick
member.
is in pursuit. I'd like to stress that.
I would like to say that too, because John Wick is relentless.
Yeah.
I'd like to
Could
say
you
that
make
Ryan
it-
Gosling
could
is
you
a
make
much
it
better
his-
driver than John Wick. He's going to get away.
But will John Wick stop
but will they
pursuing
get
him?
out of No, wait.
You can stop pursuing if you want. You're going to be like It Follows from It Follows, where you can walk across the ocean if you want. My guy's faster. He's going to get away.
But John Wick will be there.
Do you want your 30 seconds?
I think John Wick is a little bit played up a little bit. Like, his headshots are a little bit fantastical. I think I'm going to take an ex-Special Forces agent, plus one of the most amazing drivers in the world, plus a career criminal who's very calm-headed. And he made a mistake, but the one thing that Gigi, just remember this, he owns up for his mistakes. He's going to sit in the bank. He's going to sit there and face his punishment from John Wick while the other 2 get away. He saves 4.
3. Wow.
Very possible.
Sacrifice play.
Very
Okay.
possible.
That was like perfectly on time. I'm gonna throw it to Manan.
All right.
Hit me with your team.
All right. In regards to the bank heist, I think I'll start with the leader. I think the leader of the team would be George Clooney's character from Ocean's 11. I mean, obviously a born leader in that particular role. Plans a perfect heist with multiple casinos with all kinds of security. And he has that character that other people on his team would respect and will go along with the plan that is created. Crowd control, I think, is a great pick. Is the Joker? I think he's a wild card. He's crazy.
You gave your own wild card.
He's for a bank heist, right? He's gonna keep the people entertained, but at the same time, they're gonna be
mobilized with fear.
Exactly. That's the point right there. That's the point. You know, you don't want any shenanigans happening. In regards to the muscle, I think Jason Bourne, great. He's got every sort of skill that you could ever need. I think if you were going to take a previous segment into mind, I think Jason Bourne could kick James Bond's ass. And I think he's got the muscle, he's got the finesse, and he could take anyone down. And then movie that I saw recently, Baby Driver, I think Baby would be a great driver because
the movie's called Baby
Driver. Exactly. He navigates through streets, you know, he's fancy like that, drives a Subaru, and yeah, listens to sweet tunes. Can't hurt. And yeah, that's my 4 people.
All right, time for your wild card. I almost changed it because I forgot you changed your muscle to your crowd control to the Joker, but I'm sticking with my original wild card. Ooh, Jason Bourne is your wild card, and he happens to be on your team. He has gotten shot by the security. He's knocked out for most of the robbery. He comes to. He's lost his memory. He wakes up in the middle of a robbery. Being the good-hearted person he is, he tries to stop it. What does your team do?
You got the Joker on our team. First of all, Jason Bourne isn't going to just abandon like a bank heist in the middle of the... he won't know what's going on. Why would he just defend a bank heist?
He has amnesia, and he's a good man. And he has the training.
That is a good one. That is quite the stumper. I'm not going to lie to that.
Come on, what are the merits of your team to overcome Jason Bourne?
You know what's going to happen? We're going to let the Joker take over. If you've seen the opening bank heist scene in The Dark Knight, he's just going to go right into plan. George is going to kill
everyone?
We're just going to kill Jason Bourne. Fuck him, right? He's fucking got amnesia. Kick his ass. He's done. All right? Then Baby's sitting outside. George and the Joker's got it. He's pretty scary for the team. So I think the Joker takes over, and that's that. We just kill him.
All right. Before I throw it to David's team, I'd just like to point out Jason Bourne is a highly trained, like Black Ops agent.
A bullet can't stop.
I don't know. He got shot twice in the Bourne Identity.
Shoot him 3 times.
Oh, okay.
You know,
that is a good.
you know how the Joker got these scars?
Touche. All right. Do you want your minute and a half?
No, I think my point's taken. I think that's a fair point.
Confidence. I like it. All right. I'm gonna throw it to David. Hit me with your bank heist team.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with the driver. I chose Rocket from Guardians in the Galaxy, right? Because he is the best driver in the galaxy. Period.
Keep in mind he is bound to Earth and he has to drive a car, not a spaceship.
I didn't say that. My getaway vehicle is actually a tank. I'll get to that. Anyway,
I want to hear this.
Second I have for muscle, I actually chose Jango Fett, which is the greatest bounty hunter in the universe. Well, supposedly, but we'll see what happens. I couldn't pick the other guy from the Clone Wars. I didn't even know his name. You know the guy in the blue? He's like an alien, but he's not actually a real character.
What?
The second bounty hunter. What's his name?
Oh, Cad Bane.
Cad Bane. Yeah,
wow, I'm surprised you know him.
Yeah, Cad Bane, but he's a little edgy, so I didn't pick him. Jango Fett seems a little bit more stable than Cad Bane, so I went with him. As for crowd control, I went with Will Smith from Focus, so Nikki Spurgeon, right, for the crowd control. And as the leader, I chose...
Why is he... No, sorry, continue.
Why is he crowd control? I'd like to just say he's crowd control because he's actually also a mastermind, so he'll be able to distract the crowd in a way that they're not being distracted. So he has a master plan.
He's a magician.
Correct, but also you're very sneaky. So unlike you guys, my team is not professional at all. They're a bunch of con men and bounty hunters. So, a little variety. And also as the leader, I chose Brad Pitt from Fury. That exact same character. And that's actually why my getaway vehicle is a tank, because he is a tank commander.
Smart.
Okay, so that's pretty much it.
All right.
What's my wild card?
All right, you're ready for your wild card?
I don't know if I'm ready for my wild card.
Your wild card, okay. You mentioned that Jango Fett is your muscle.
Correct.
Your wild card is young Boba Fett. His son, Jango Fett's son, has snuck into the getaway vehicle just to tag along with father because he wants to learn so bad. He gets into the bank. He's taken hostage by a security guard, and shootout ensues. Boba Fett is killed. Your muscle is distraught with sadness. What does your team do?
I think that actually Brad Pitt is the right person to console this guy because he's been through World War II and many horrible things that he's seen. So I think that Brad Pitt will be able to console Jango Fett for the loss of his son.
He goes into Dr. Phil mode.
Plus, at the same time, you always got to keep in mind Boba Fett is a clone of Jango Fett, so you can actually go out and make another clone. But then again, 2017 technology. So is it really Jango Fett? I don't know. Maybe. But
the wild card is exempt from 2017 technology.
from 2017, right? Because technically
they cloned that sheep back in like 2004. So the clone is well.
Exactly. How is this raccoon driving this tank?
No. He's not a raccoon.
What?
He's not a raccoon.
Rocket Raccoon?
Rocket is not a raccoon. We've been over this.
His name is Rocket Raccoon.
His name is Rocket Raccoon. Yes, but at the same time, he's not a raccoon. He's a genetically modified animal that's put together that looks like a raccoon. It just happens to be in 2017.
I allowed it because he doesn't have superpowers.
He doesn't have any superpowers. He's just intelligent.
He's still the size of
He
a
just
raccoon.
looks like a raccoon.
He is the size of a raccoon.
He looks like a raccoon, but he isn't a raccoon.
Has he ever driven a tank before?
He can drive a spaceship. I'm sure he can drive a tank.
Wait, time out. You guys are starting to fight. Actually, we're making good time. You have more time to fight. So, this is the free-for-all round. Everyone kill each other. Go.
Okay, I have problems with Manon's team. Well, first thing, way too many morals on that team for a bank heist crew. I don't think that Jason Bourne is even getting in there in the first place. I think it's justifiable that he would turn against his team. He's got way too many morals. George Clooney, he's a nice guy. He likes ripping off people who deserve to be ripped off. Ooh. Like, how many banks are you going to find that he, by his personal morals, think that deserve to be ripped off? Baby Driver also has a lot of morals. Way too many morals. Your bank heist crew needs to be more cynical.
Like my team.
Yeah, sorry. We don't have a talking raccoon. I don't even know your team. I can't even... Oh, man, I can't even...
That's what you want out of a bank heist crew of criminals. You don't know who they are.
No, not my team. Your team. I can't rebuttal that. But in terms of counterattack...
I think Manon has just given up.
All right, well...
Okay, on my team, like, Sam's been killed, Gigi has jumped on the bomb, so there's no longer anything that they're fighting against. It's Michael Atwood and Ryan Gosling from Drive. They're getting away. They clearly have gotten away. Nothing else to fight about.
I think that the biggest problem with your team is that John Wick is in pursuit. That is the worst possible thing ever.
Yes, use the wild card. I thought really hard about this.
Because John Wick will chase you to the ends of the earth.
No, because he's found it. Gigi is the one who killed his dog. Gigi has jumped on the bullet. He did this actually in the movie. You don't know this because you haven't watched the movie. But in Racer and the Jailbreak, he actually gives up and says, you know what, I deserve this punishment. And John Wick, being a guy who is also full of morals, he sees a guy who is like, you know what, this guy made a mistake. It's like, he knows the difference between a guy who deserves to be shot in the face and somebody who is, like, genuinely remorseful. And I think Gigi's a nice enough guy that him and John Wick will say, you know what, I'm no longer in pursuit of Michael Atwood and the driver because they're not the one who killed his dog. You know, it's all about Gigi. And Gigi is a guy that I actually like and he's an honorable person, so I'm not going to kill him either. Gigi survives. Sam may have died, but there's no one on my team who loves Sam so much that they're going to go revenge after him. They've gotten away the professional.
Don't let his persuasiveness hypnotize you.
I don't think he gives a fuck if he kills his dog and is a nice guy. That dude that killed his dog in the movie John Wick, he was a nice guy.
No, he wasn't.
He was a nice guy.
He was a fucking asshole.
He was, but he was nice after. He's a little pussy. I think
he wasn't
John
nice
Wick
about it at all.
John Wick wants revenge. I don't think he's going to stop
so
that.
So kill Gigi. You still got my two guys who are getting away.
I think John Wick will absolutely kill Gigi and be semi-satisfied with actually executing the person who killed his dog and the other guy. But John Wick is also the type of character at the same time who will turn around and be like, you know what? Maybe not.
No, that's the opposite of his character. He kills, in the first John Wick movie, he kills who he wants to kill, and then all he wants to do is be left alone. Like, he gets his revenge, and ultimately he just wants to go and have a peaceful life. And people kept...
And then they killed his dog.
People
and
keep
you know what
coming
happened?
after him, but as long as no one's coming after him, he's not going to come back.
I think if your team bought him a dog, he'll be fine.
That's a good point.
Are you helping him?
Well, I'm just saying, you should buy him a dog.
So let's go on to your team, David.
This great team.
Carson's firing
Brad
shots at
Pitt as
everyone.
Fury, he was actually like an asshole leader. He was like the type
Correct.
of person.
Yeah, absolutely. You need an asshole leader to control Django Fett, Rocket, and possibly
Especially
Nicky
considering
Spurgeon.
Django has lost his son.
And also, let's consider that Rocket is a complete wild card. He pulled off a quote-unquote heist at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 where he robs the batteries. And then while doing that, he actually opens his bag and shows Drax, hey, I've stolen these batteries in the middle of the people who he's actually just robbed. The only thing he had to do was not show everyone what he's just done, and he showed everyone what he's done. How they didn't see it is a complete mystery, but like he's gonna do something stupid, and then when he's getting away, he doesn't let Peter Quill drive through the field, even though Peter's doing a good job. He has to take over because he has to be the one to make himself succeed.
Also
You're
correct. So
kind
this
of leaning
this
on
is
the-
this is
really
exactly
slow. How is he gonna get away?
This is exactly
with a
why
tank?
the getaway vehicle is a tank. Okay, so there's only one driver of the tank. There's not two. You can only have one. Rocket is the driver.
can't even
Period. There's
see
no
over
one
the-
trying
What
to
is he
take
seeing
over
over?
the tank. It's only Rocket driving the tank. To your second point, what was it? He's kind of reckless, right? Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. He is very reckless. But let me ask a second question. Now, did Brad Pitt's team seem any more reckless than the crew that he has now?
They were in the middle of fucking World War II. They could get
This
away
is
with
not
that.
like the middle of a
is the
street where a bank
I
is.
was preparing an argument for if anyone chose anyone from Fast and the Furious. Because the problem with their getaways is that they essentially let the entire city know that there's a heist going on. And it's like, there's actually been somebody who hijacked a tank and like drove through some city in the US. I can't remember who it was. But like,
How did it go?
So let me ask you a question. If they were to get cornered, and they're surrounded by police vehicles,
Wait, whose team? Are you talking about
My
Carson's
team.
Oh, okay.
who in that tank would have a getaway plan?
No one.
No,
You
Will
tell us.
Smith. Will Smith.
Oh, okay.
Nicky Spurgeon.
Focus.
He had a
Do
fail-safe
some
plan.
math.
He had a fail-safe plan for every con. He has to have a fail-safe plan for the con that he's pulling on the bank heist.
That's
it
an
was
awful
a
movie, by
fucking
the way.
bullshit movie.
Shit movie.
But did
Margot
he get
Robbie.
away? Yeah, he did.
So does the rest of his team get away?
That's okay.
Margot
Brad Pitt
Robbie get
sacrificed
away?
himself. Rocket was willing to sacrifice himself. Django Fett dies.
Rocket's willing to sacrifice himself.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, he's not.
Can he even function without Groot?
He is the most selfish person.
I should have chose Groot. That was actually a great choice. But I wasn't allowed anybody with superpowers. Groot was kind of pushing it with the superpowers.
But a talking raccoon is fine.
He's not a raccoon.
Oh.
I think this is kind of questionable. I think Rocket Raccoon is a raccoon.
Listen, his name is Rocket Raccoon because he looks like a raccoon.
So
because
he's not
actually
He
a
looks like a raccoon. Acts
Listen, they
like
did a DNA scan on him in the first Guardians of the Galaxy. He's not a raccoon.
Maybe they just have incomplete data records and don't have Earth or Terran.
No, that wouldn't be true because they picked up Chris Pratt was from Terra.
Yeah, but they might not have complete records. I think he's still
Of a raccoon? There are like millions of them running around Toronto.
Yeah, but like, do they have the complete records of every animal on Terra, or did they just have a couple?
I mean, they
We're
should.
getting off the point, guys.
Pretty common.
What
Your
year
team is
that
going to let
movie?
everyone in the city know that a bank heist is going on, and they're never going to actually get away. Like, at the end of a bank heist, you need to be sneaky. You need to you need to.
15-second
away.
warning.
So the news is going to be a raccoon broke into a bank, stole all the money, and got away on a tank, which drives at 2 miles an hour.
Okay, listen. I just
And
like
the
to
news
say
for you is gonna
that
be the
people,
Joker fucking
people
killed
dress up
everyone.
in baseball hats
And
and sunglasses and get away from bank
Final
heists.
statements. 20 seconds, men, and go.
I think the Joker's a wild card. He kills everyone. You know, he sets that system like the Dark Knight. He makes George Clooney be part of it. We kill Jason Bourne. We kill the driver once he's delivered the goods. And we got the money right there.
Kill George Clooney.
Sure, why not?
Time, David. 20 seconds. Go.
75% of my team is actually con men. That's all I have to say.
All right, with time to spare. Carson, 20 seconds. Go.
My team is absolute professionals. They've dealt with adversity, but the people who survive, they're going to survive and do the rest of their job.
What movie is Gigi from again?
Racer in the
I
Jailbird.
don't know what that.
That's not a real-
Yeah, that's not a movie.
My team is not hindered by your complete fucking lack of cinematic knowledge. God damn it!
All right, I will need to take time to deliberate. If Carson, if you might, let's take it. Give me a couple minutes.
Okay, so while you're thinking about that, we're going to go to a clip break. So, David, how about you introduce your clip for us?
Oh, my clip. My audio segment?
What is it about, David?
So the actual clip that I picked was from A Knight's Tale. It's actually one of my favorite movies of all time. I enjoyed it very much, and I'm gonna play it for you.
My lords, my ladies, and everybody else here not sitting on a cushion. Today, you find yourselves equals. For you are all equally blessed. For I have the pride, the privilege, nay, the pleasure of introducing to you a knight sired by knights, a knight who can trace his lineage back beyond Charlemagne. I first met him atop a mountain near Jerusalem, praying to God, asking his forgiveness for the Saracen blood spilt by his sword. Next, he amazed me still further in Italy when he saved a fatherless beauty from the would-be ravishings of her dreadful Turkish uncle. In Greece, he spent a year in silence just to better understand the sound of a whisper. And so, without further gilding the lily, and with no more ado, I give to you the seeker of serenity, the protector of Italian virginity, the enforcer of our Lord God, the one, the only, Sir Ulrich von Liechtenstein!
Thank you for that clip, David. For our Twitter question on this one, this come from an Eight's Tale that had both Paul Bettany and Heath Ledger. So the question is, who would win in a fight, Heath Ledger's Joker or Paul Bettany's Vision?
Definitely the Joker.
Let us know.
What?
And now, after a long anticipation, I'll hand it over to Paulo to announce his verdict for the last session.
Okay, I'm gonna try and make this quick. I judged these bank heist teams on two main criteria. One, how much money did they get away with? Two, are they still able to perform more bank heists as they are after the first one, after my wild card completely fucked them up. So let's start with David's team. I'll admit the wild card did not affect them too much. I do think that Django Fett, after this loss of his son was done after the first bank heist, the only problem, they all could have gotten away, but the only problem was that they were driving a tank, which does not move very fast and was stopped
How fast
by the
does
police.
a tank go?
It does not move very fast.
Let me tell you how fast it goes.
I do not have time for you to Google this. It does not move very fast. They were stopped by the police, and they've all gone to jail.
In a tank?
Yes.
If you
in
play
a
Grand
tank.
Theft Auto, they get caught.
Manon's team. It was I did like the essence of 3 scumbags and 1 brash leader. The getaway vehicle is where it all fell apart. Manon's team. David, would you like to say something?
A tank goes 112 kilometers an hour.
All right.
What?
not
What
that
kind of
fast.
tank is this?
Every police car goes like...
200 plus.
But it's a tank. It has ammunition.
Anyways, moving on to Manon's team. They did steal a lot of money. I put a lot of weight on Baby Driver. They did get away, but Jason Bourne, I think he was so well trained. A lot of your arguments were based on the Joker taking him out. I don't think he can do that because the Joker is a mastermind, but he's not a fighter. Jason Bourne took out a good 3/4 of your team. I think Baby Driver was the only one that got away. Because Jason Bourne can't drive. I mean, he can drive, but like Baby Driver is awesome. He did make a lot of money. He got away with his girl. I'll give him that. Carson's team. The 2 surviving members were Michael Atwood and the driver from Driver. He doesn't have a name, does he?
His name is Driver.
His name is Driver, also known as Ryan Gosling. I think John Wick and John Wick and Sam didn't exactly cancel each other out. John Wick killed Sam, but Carson did mention that Gigi took the bullet and he gave himself up for John Wick's revenge warpath, which at least slowed him down enough for the driver and Michael Atwood to get away. So they did split the money. It was the biggest take, and I don't know if they can rob more banks after this, but they do have a lot of money and they're not dead like the other two teams. Or sorry, dead
My
or in
team's
jail.
not dead.
But I will have to begrudgingly give this one to Carson.
Begrudgingly?
Because I'm tired of you winning.
I would just like to say, if anyone in the audience thinks that Paulo is absolutely wrong like the rest of us, please tweet out to the Twitter handle or message us and DM us and let us know how wrong he is.
Good thing we
that
have
my
nobody
team
who
has
tweet.
actually won this gamble.
Tweet us if you know who Gigi is,
Good
'cause I
luck
still
to
don't
you.
know.
I've been saying tweet us, and no one has done it. For
Well,
us.
I guess you haven't been
Twice
wrong yet.
Because I won the verdict and I've won nobody responding already.
No, okay. So I'm gonna move things quite along. To move things quite along. Sorry, English is my second language. I'm gonna kick it over to Carson for our
judging.
for our next segment. Carson, take it away.
Okay, so for our last segment of the day, we're going to be doing pitches. The idea for this one takes a little bit to explain, so I'll try to do my best here. The idea here is pitch an idea for a movie where you're following the exact same events that are in an existing movie, except the twist is that it's from the perspective of a side character or the perspective of some other character. So the idea should be, even though you're following the same events, it's going to be different enough because of the perspective that you're telling it from, that it's its own unique movie. It's interesting enough. So this should be quite the challenge. I'm interested to see how each of you take it on.
If I may, this is like the brainchild of my teenage years. So a good example of this would be Star Wars: A New Hope, but from the perspective of Biggs Darklighter. So like taking it away from the perspective of like the main heroes like Luke, Leia, Han. If you tell that story from Biggs's point of view, it becomes a story of how he joined the rebellion. He left his friends behind, Luke, and then he ended up destroying the Death Star with his best buddy, but he gave his life in the end to save Luke, to save the day. That's kind of the kind of thing I was going for.
So if Paulo doesn't win this is going to be extremely disappointing.
This is going to be crushing for my life. I will retire from the podcast game.
Okay, so I think that's a good enough intro for me to throw all that pressure back on Paulo. How about you start us off? Give us your pitch.
All right. The movie I picked was based on the film Memento, which was like a film noir type thing. It was basically about a guy who, through a home invasion, his wife was murdered by these two criminals, but the police only believed that there was one, because through evidence or whatnot, and also that throughout the course of the attack, he lost his memory. He got amnesia. He has short-term memory loss. So the movie itself is told in a scrambled. It's a scrambled order. It's not from start, like it's not in chronological order, which is it makes it confusing. But it's told from the point of view of the guy with amnesia, the victim, who's trying to find his wife's killer, or the remaining criminal of the two-man team that killed his wife. I'm telling this from the perspective of a cop named Teddy, who appears to be helping Leonard, who is the victim, find the second killer. So the movie is basically, it's told in chronological order, no mixed up timelines like the original. So it's easy for the modern audience to follow. And it's mostly about how Teddy, the cop, manipulates Leonard into finding these criminals, like these unscrupulous characters, into murdering them or like arresting them to further his own career as a cop, because he's been struggling after the first couple years of him trying to help Leonard find the real killer. The only problem is that after he finds the real killer, Leonard forgets, and this leaves the door open to Teddy using him. So the story goes along. They just keep finding these guys, these John G's, quote unquote, because this is the only evidence that, or the only memory that Leonard has of the original killer. And Teddy keeps using this to find other criminals, but then through a series of events, Teddy, like he finally sees the error. He starts to have doubts about like using this poor man who's trying to find his wife's killer, and he's about to tell him the truth and like just give up this facade, when Leonard ends up killing him, because unbeknownst to Teddy, Leonard has he left clues to himself to name Teddy as a John G, and then at the end of the movie, when he's about to confess everything, he kills Teddy. I explain everything? I think I did. There's more. Whatever. I'm out of time. Oh no, I'm not out of time. So basically, there's a whole twist where after one particular victim, where Teddy helps Leonard kill him, it sets in motion a series of events where Leonard meets the girlfriend of the victim, and he tells the girlfriend of the random John G about his condition, and she decides to use him, and in turn that makes her turn that. Oh Jesus Christ! In turn, that leads the girlfriend to turn Leonard onto Teddy, and there's a huge reveal at the end where Leonard has left clues to himself through Polaroid pictures to not trust Teddy, and that leads to Teddy's death. It's a tale of, huh? I did recast it. Teddy, who originally was Joe Pantoliano, I recast him as Matthew McConaughey, because he plays a very good slimy character, but he's also suave to like to steer Leonard, the amnesia guy, in the wrong direction. The Leonard, who is like, he's a strong guy, but he's kind of clueless. I cast John Bernthal, who's Shane from The Walking Dead. And Natalie, who manipulates Leonard into killing the protagonist of our story, Teddy, is Kristen Ritter, who plays Jessica Jones. Thank you. And also, there's a little bit of a side plot of Teddy's police partner, who tries to talk him out of this when he finally figures out what he's doing. It's played by Michael Shannon. Teddy ends up killing him, and then he has a whole like wave of regret, which leads him to
Last comment,
stopping.
Who's it directed by?
It's directed by David Ayer. He did End of Watch.
So 2 minutes for you guys to attack his idea. Go. A certain question I'll throw out there is: are we cheering for Matthew McConaughey or no?
He's the epitome of anti-hero, because he's doing a very bad thing, but then the whole twist, like the whole like gotcha at the end, is that he's like decided that he's doing a bad thing, but then when he's about to like give himself up, he gets killed by the guy he's manipulating.
So curious, why not Joe Pantoliano?
'Cause he's kind of old. He, as a lead, I don't think he can carry a big budget movie on his own.
So is there any counter arguments from the audience here? That would go largely in favor of Paulo, if none.
I have zero counter arguments because I've been drinking.
I like it. It's fantastic.
Wow.
The director choice.
Yes!
Definitely.
Wow.
We've clearly not been paying attention.
Things are looking good for me.
I will personally say I'm offended by this pitch. that you've taken one of the greatest movies of the last 20 years and taken about the thing that made it greatest, which was its ability to tell it like backwards like that, and to put yourself in the perspective of somebody who was actually has memory loss and figuring out as they would. It's one of the most genius things that's been in cinema, I think, in the last 20 years, and to take that out is like, what do you have left? You have just the story. So I'll throw that out there. As we wrap up. Paul, do you have any last comments?
I did mention that this is a retelling for a modern audience, which makes me sound very snobby, but I don't give a fuck.
It makes you sound like the modern audience is dumber.
I know, that's why I sound snobby.
All right.
But no one's listening anyway.
Great point,
So,
Paulo.
I'll announce my verdicts and my rating scale at the end of this, but going on to the next pitch, we will have Manan next.
Okay.
Take it away.
So I am going with a retelling of The Departed. I'll just start with, I'm not going to recast this. This cast is insane. It's got Matt Damon, Leonardo DiCaprio. It's directed by Martin Scorsese. Alec Baldwin's in it. And the dude at a lot of the Laker games. Why am I blanking on his name?
Will Ferrell?
No. The main dude.
At Laker games?
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson. The fact that I couldn't... Anyway. The point being... Okay, so I'm just going to give a brief retelling or summary of The Departed is. Essentially, Jack Nicholson's character is part of the main person in the Boston Irish mob. And they rule the south side of Boston and run all the businesses and are heavily into drugs and in business with China to infiltrate all kinds of stuff.
China or China?
So essentially, Matt Damon's character is from the very beginning, from as a child, almost molded to become a cop in order to be a mole in the Boston police force. At the same time, the Boston police force infiltrates the mob by sending their own mole in. So it's essentially a story of one mole against the other mole. And I think it's one of the best movies, or one of my favorite movies, as you can kind of tell from my earlier scene that I picked.
Not a co-op.
No, exactly. So I would be my script, or rather the pitch of the movie would be, it would be from the character Dignam, who is played by Mark Wahlberg. He's one of the sergeants in the police, the Boston police force. So how it would kind of work is that he would be, the movie would start at the very beginning, and it would start with his dad or his family owning a family business that is actually in the south side of Boston, and large part of all profits and everything is controlled by Jack Nicholson's character. All the money that's that the business has made is essentially going to the mob, and growing up, this is kind of his day-to-day, being afraid of kind of this lifestyle, and which kind of bred him to become a cop in the police force. So he works his way up, creates a special investigative unit to help track down Frank Costello, a.k.a. Jack Nicholson's character, and try to bring him down and make the city of Boston with a lot of, obviously get rid of this organized crime. So what he does is, him and the main captain, the name is Queenan, Captain Queenan, they put a mole within within Jack Nicholson's camp, his mob, played by Leonardo DiCaprio's character, and the reason what they want to do is essentially his life goal. Mark Wahlberg's character is to take down Jack Nicholson, aka Frank Costello. So the story is essentially told in this way, but somehow every single step, the mob somehow knows that, for example, going into a meeting or going into a robbery or anything, any of these scenarios, they seem to always be one step ahead. For example, always turning off their cell phones so they couldn't track their whereabouts, or aka like use their voice, or hack into their phones. So it got them to believe that there was a mole within the police force itself. which obviously turns out to be Matt Damon, and the story kind of so he eventually figures out that Matt Damon's character is the mole because the Matt Damon's character, he is one of the detectives on the police force, puts a surveillance unit and a team to follow the captain, who turns out to get killed, and that makes him very suspicious. And in the end, he essentially infiltrates
15 seconds.
And kills.
And he shoots Matt Damon in the head.
Exactly. That's the point. There's a rat.
Okay, so I'll open this up for you guys for counter arguments. The one thing I'll say so far is we have 2 pitches for movies that are fucking phenomenal, that are basically pitched as those movies, but not as good. So
I would agree with that comment.
Not even just not as good, because Dignam is a great character, but I will say that it does sound like the exact same movie.
It does. So I mean, yeah. But it's a great movie, like you said. So
You're trying to operate on the strength of the original movie. I like it.
Yes, a sequel maybe.
But it does. What I do like is how if it is told through Dignam's point of view, he's kind of like the clueless guy where like he's putting out all these like missions.
Yeah.
And then the criminals are for some reason one step ahead, and he has no idea why.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I don't know if you can stretch that through an entire movie.
So I'll give you a chance to answer the obvious question here. How is it different from the original movie?
I think the main movie kind of shows you both sides. It shows you the mole from Leo's side. They show you like the police side, but then they also show you the side of the mob. I think on this particular movie, it would be one-sided. They don't have any sort of clue of what Matt Damon or Jack Nicholson's character are doing. We don't really find out that there is a mole within the police force till like halfway through the movie.
Force.
Yeah, so we don't know. Like they put in all these special units. How is it that they're getting all these hints? How are they like getting around all this? Turns out there's a mole, and then in the end, it kind of
it's a huge reveal that
exactly,
it's Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, and it's like out of the blue. It's like what fuck, Matt Damon, you know? So obviously, it's a great movie.
I think it would be good if The Departed didn't already exist. Because then the reveal would be awesome. Except we already know that it's Matt Damon.
Yeah. Maybe.
All right, interesting. We'll move it on to our third pitch of the day. David, take it away.
Okay, so my pitch is for actually told from a different perspective of Inglourious Bastards. So I really like World War II movies, and I very much never see a World War II movie actually based on the perspective of anybody from anyone from other than the Allies, right?
Are you trying to
No,
tell
hold
a
on.
war
As a
movie
disclaimer,
from the Nazi point of view?
Absolutely, but not really from that perspective.
Okay.
Here's the thing, right? Like I know it's a very touchy topic, and I really do relate to the people who've actually gone through a lot and have had like horrible things happen to their families and all of that.
I have Jewish listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. But it's the reality of it, right? So my perspective is really not to glorify any of the things that the Nazis did whatsoever, or Germany in that time of year. But the reality is that there is a German set of people who were drafted into this war that didn't really feel like, they really belonged to that. We hear very much the victory side told of the war, but, realistically, I'm sure there's tons of people who didn't want to fight for their country but got drafted anyway, right? Very much the people in the U.S., they're, some of them really like Donald Trump. I'm sure a lot of them don't, but they kind of got to go along with it because that's the political era they live in. So, all that being said, this is a disclaimer. I do not agree with any
You're
of
disowning,
those.
you're disavowing your movie already.
I'm not disavowing your movie. I'm really trying to give it a disclaimer that this is just kind of what it is, and this is my perspective of a different side, right? So, Inglourious Bastards, different perspective. So, I want to tell the perspective of Inglourious Bastards from the people, or from the Nazi group that's found in the bottom of the tavern, or the basement of the tavern, in the scene where the Allies come in and kind of have to rescue von Hammersburg to kind of get information for them, right? So, the idea of the movie is that it's based on the group that's sitting in the basement, and they are actually a group of people who've been assigned to von Hammersburg to make sure that she's actually loyal to Germany, right? So they kind of are her escort in that whole basement scene, right? So the beginning of the movie actually begins with each of the individual lives of the characters within that group who kind of get drafted into the war of Germany. So they're not really there for like the gun-ho, let's go to war, let's take over, let's kind of like, you know, make our country better, but rather, you know, our country's losing the war and we need to draft other citizens into this war so that we kind of get momentum and are able to defend ourselves against the invasion coming from the Allies, right? So the movie is shot in the same kind of Quentin Tarantino style. If you want to know who my director is, I changed it from Steven Spielberg. It's actually going to be Quentin Tarantino.
Wait. No,
Right?
he did.
It is Quentin Tarantino, but you know, I was thinking maybe Steven Spielberg, maybe kind of more of like a Saving Private Ryan, more dramatic style. But I kind of realized, you know, this kind of it's kind of justified by the way
Why not
Quentin
Michael Bay
Tarantino
So
does
you
his
kept
movies.
the same director.
I really did, but really and truly, there's no glory in this movie. It's very dark, and it's very much like, you know, it's supposed to be, you know, like gut wrenching, right? So the people who are drafted for this, who's sitting in the basement, I really couldn't tell you their names or the characters because they play such insignificant roles. They're probably, you know, named German 1, German 2, German 3. I'd have no idea even who that is. Right? I couldn't tell
That's
you.
strike one for the Judge Carson.
Well, you know, this is a general movie pitch, but it's fine. Anyway, so the movie would start with each of these characters who've gone through their lives. They're kind of just living in regular Germany while the war is going on, and they're looking for citizens to be drafted into the war. Now, each of them is kind of going on through the things, and what is happening is that, you know, daily lives are happening. Guess what? You know what? Go to the grocery store, you're drafted.
No, you're
Driving, got a ticket, you're drafted. And usually people get drafted to the war. So just to kind of wrap it up because we don't have that much time, but each of these people go in, they get drafted, they go to boot camp, and they get sent to Paris to fight off the Allies. Within their group, are the only ones who survive the actual invasion for the Allies, get pulled back, and what happens is that they all get assigned to von Hammersburg, who, to make sure she's allied to Germany. Once they go into the basement, and they all get killed by the Inglourious Bastards. That is the actual end point of the movie, and that's why they cross. That's it.
All right, we'll open it up for a couple minutes for attacks on that.
I don't think Quentin Tarantino I don't think he's the director you're looking for when you want sympathetic characters. He's really good at making movies where everyone's a piece of shit.
Well, that's part of the thing. That's part of the point, though. It's like it's very hard to make a sympathetic movie and not have audience feel certain ways about really sympathizing deeply with a cause that, you know, we all know may have been negative overall. But, you know, you have to find a fine line between being able to be relatable and also being able to be, you know, what that kind of shit
So you're
happens.
saying
And that's what it is.
You're saying it's like these couple dudes that go into a grocery store. Boom, you're drafted in the war. Then they fight this war, they survive, and then one day when they're just partying or having a beer, they just get shot in the end of the movie.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's exactly what would happen.
It's not much of a character arc
not
for
much
these people.
of a plot.
No, there's really not that much character. The part of the character that's actually built up for them is actually before they get drafted. You get to see their lives, their families, their children or children to be. You kind of have to have that moment to connect with them. But after they get drafted, it's more about camaraderie and meeting the people that they're kind
Sounds
of
like a very depressing
in there.
movie. Like,
It absolutely is. It's a
kind
dark
of-
movie.
yeah.
It's not supposed to be a
it's
very
like these are
happy
great
movie.
people, and then they're dead.
This is not
Absolutely, but that's what war's all about, right? It's you have great people, very relatable, very normal, and then they die.
Have you heard of the show The Man in the High Castle?
No, I haven't.
So essentially, The Man in the High Castle, the TV show, is it's the retelling of like the World War II, but as if Germany had won. So it's people living in the States in like the 1970s, 80s now time period, but Germany had technically won. So they speak German. It's a very like that type of community. A show it's kind of similar to I don't know why plot, but I think it's interesting.
It's a generic plot.
Generic plot.
Yeah.
It's like before and after.
Yeah, they survive.
All right, so verdict on this whole thing. This is tough. I like dark and depressing. I like things that are told from a cynical perspective. there's a lot of reasons why I want to like your pitch, David, but you didn't know who Michael Fassbender is.
Okay, can you tell me who that is, by the way?
He plays Magneto in the most recent X-Men one.
Oh, I didn't recast anyone from this movie.
I know, but it's not fucking
Who are the
Then
original
that
people?
would make us hope that you know who it is.
So that alone, I'm gonna have to disqualify you because I think he's one of the greatest actors of our generation.
Wow.
To not even know who he is, I will actually say one of the greatest actors of our generation.
Pretty good.
Michael Fassbender.
Steve Jobs.
I'd like to say my same disclaimer. If any audience members would like to argue and tweet the handle,
I
or
will not allow
give a comment.
tweeters coming in to
Please let them know
overrule this.
that
No,
how
time out.
right I
That's a
am in
sin on its
my
own.
On
in my
top
bitch.
of that, I would like tweeters. Please tweet us more. I mean, any.
Please tweet us. I'll ignore you, but please tweet us. Manan, I like the concept. I like the approach. I think my biggest issue was like, what's the difference between that and the original movie? Like, the original movie is so good, and I think like it probably would be a good movie. I think that's just my biggest complaint is, how is it different? And so there's that. And then with Paulo, there's you take a brilliant movie idea and you created an interesting idea out of it, but then you kind of deteriorated what's one of the most interesting and creative movie ideas of the last 20 years. To create two award winners, so I'm giving this to Paulo. I thought the idea of going on multiple missions and this guy being a good guy, because Joe Pantoliano plays him as such kind of a slimy asshole of being like, how could this guy do any good, to being like, let's justify why you would want to take advantage of somebody with this disease. Like, I thought that was actually kind of an interesting twist.
And he's with Matthew McConaughey now.
And Matthew McConaughey, I guess. I guess thinking of this since your childhood has done you some good.
By a hair.
We'll give you the win on this one.
a gray hair.
A hair is a hair.
With that, we're going to bring this episode to an end. And like we always do, we're going to sign off by saying, what are you guys looking forward to in October? Manan, how about you? What are you looking forward to?
I'm actually looking forward to, obviously, the Blade Runner. Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford. Canadian director. I don't know who it is, but he's Canadian. That much I know.
Denis Villeneuve.
That's why Carson's here.
Way too fucking excited for this movie.
I also want to see Murder on the Orient Express. It comes out in November, early November.
That counts. It counts.
But I think it's got a
does
solid
not
cast.
count.
It counts.
It's based on a
Not
book. I think it looks fantastic. And I'm very curious to see it.
Cool. David, how about you?
I'm actually looking forward to Flatliners. So I like horror movies. There are rarely any really good ones. So, I mean, Flatliners kind of perspective of where people are going to die and come back to life, and they kind of seen shit and can't come back from that. So
Have you seen the original?
No, I haven't. I didn't even know there was an original.
Okay, so first of all, it's a September release. Although it's not out as
We're
of...
September 29th. When does it
While
come out?
we're recording this, it hasn't been out yet, so...
So it's technically October.
But it was...
The
Kiefer-
business days have ended.
Kiefer Sutherland was in the original.
And Kevin Bacon.
Right, I forgot about that. Paul, how about you?
That's a thumbs down for Kevin Bacon.
In the interest of not choosing Blade Runner, I plicked.
You plicked?
Man, I'm drunker than I thought. I picked The Foreigner, starring Jackie Chan. His triumphant return to cinema.
And from your best
American
Bond.
cinema.
From my best Bond.
Pierce
Pierce Brosnan. Yeah, he's in it too.
What?
Pierce Brosnan.
Ooh.
Fuck. Pierce Brosnan and Jackie Chan are both in this movie.
What's it called?
It's a dark movie. It's not Jackie Chan fooling around fighting people with umbrellas. It's him on a revenge story, a la Taken by Liam Neeson. I don't think it's gonna be good, but I'm curious to see what it's like.
For myself, I'm looking forward to The Snowman, which features, as previously mentioned, one of the best actors of our generation, Michael Fassbender. It's from a Swedish director who made Let the Right One In, which is a great story about a little girl who was a vampire and actually ripped people's head off. Playing a detective finding a serial killer. His character's name is Harry Hole.
Harry Hole?
His name is Harry Hole.
Like hole.
Hole. Harry Hole.
Is
Like
that a
butthole?
major plot point of the movie?
Like a hairy hole?
Yeah.
Like a hairy hole.
Oh, nice.
But it's actually going to be a pretty good movie, I think.
I love that. That's what we fixate on.
Harry Hole.
Great movie, great actor. His name is Harry Hole. Harry Hole?
So with that, we will end the episode for this month. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you to David and Manan for stopping by and gracing us with your presences.
Absolutely. It was
Thank
a
you
pleasure.
for having us.
Woo!
Goodbye.
Goodbye.